Yo, investing is really fun. In fact, you probably know that I love investing in the game of real estate. But I don't buy just any kind of real estate. If you want to literally leverage the best strategy in real estate, you got to actually ask, what's most important when selecting your strategy in real estate? And it turns out that there are 6 questions that you should ask yourself if you want to leverage single-handedly the very best strategy. And today, I'm going to teach you all 6 of those criteria.
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. Yeah, it's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
All right, so today we are going to talk about the 6 secrets of the very best strategy out there in real estate, because think about it. Look at how much time and effort and work you're going to put into structuring that deal. How do you actually know that you're actually doing the right deal? Is it because you heard that it could make you a lot of money? Did you get excited about the passive income? Is it really going to be investment, or are you really just doing a job inside of real estate? Man, there are so many strategies out there. People are like, Krohn, are you doing multifamily real estate? Are you doing commercial deals? Are you doing single family homes? Like, what should I be pursuing? And today I'm going to share with you, I believe, the 6 criteria that certainly matter the most and how it led me to a conclusion of actually believing that there is a best strategy in all of real estate for you. You know, I didn't actually figure out my core real estate strategy, the best strategy, until I bought my second property. Because on my first one, my wife and I were literally just trying to get a really good deal on a house that we were going to move into. And, we found this house at the time, it was worth $150,000. It was a tiny little bungalow, right? But I found out that I could buy it for $110,000. So I was getting it $40,000 below market. And then to boot, it had a basement that we could rent out. And so when my wife and I bought that, we bought it with a little FHA down payment, basically a 3%. It was like $3,300 out of pocket. And after we rented out the basement, it covered the whole mortgage. So my wife and I got to live in this house basically for free. And a year later, guess what happened? We went back to the bank and the bank said, wow, the house is now worth this. You owe that. Would you like a home equity line of credit? I'm like, wait, home equity line of credit? They're like, yeah, it's like it's a HELOC. It's like a credit card that is attached to the equity in your home. And look, you've got basically $20,000. And I remember looking at that thinking, oh my gosh, this $20,000 is something I could use to buy my next property. But what property was I going to buy? Like, I wasn't going to live in it. I knew what to do in my own house. I live in the upstairs, I rent the basement. This was going to be my first investment property. And I knew that I needed a strategy. Like, should I buy a single family home? Should I actually look to a multifamily property? What about fourplexes or duplexes? Like, I heard that those are out there. Should I flip a property, or should I buy it and rent it? Should I do this thing called a lease option where I could do like a rent to own? I didn't really know what to do. So I turned to my 3 mentors and I asked them all the question, which strategy is best? Well, the answer to that question, my friend, is what led me 4 years later to be financially free. As in, I quit my job, I had a 6-figure residual income, I had $12,000 a month coming in every month like clockwork, whether I worked or not. And it was all in finding the answer to this question, which strategy is best? Now, I'm not here to stand before you today and say, this is the best strategy. What I'm here to do instead is take you on a brief journey of the thoughts that were in my mind because of something one of my mentors said. They said, Kris, it's an unfair question. You can't really ask which is best. And I said, why not? And they said, it really depends on what's important to you. There's a bias to it. Like, is the best strategy the one that makes you the most money? Or is the one that has the least risk? Or is it the strategy that takes the least amount of time? And I thought, geez, it sounds like I've got to get clear with what's important to me. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 6 criteria that I believe are the most important, and they're going to lead us to the answer to this question, which strategy is best? So the first criteria I ask myself is, how much time is this going to take? Because if I flip a property, I could literally put in hundreds of hours into the project. If I was going to do a rental, it might take very little time, but maybe more if I'm the property manager. And because I was a full-time student and because I had a full-time job, I got kind of concerned, like, can I really do it all? I think I need to pick a strategy that is going to require the least amount of time. And so I set that up as my first criteria. Whatever strategy I'm going to pick, it's got to be something that is a true investment. It means that when I buy this house, whatever it does, it has to work for me instead of me working for it. It can't take my time.
I need time.
Time transfer.
The second criteria, effort. Like, Kris, do you want something that's gonna be really hard to do or something that's kind of easy? And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna be a bit of a brat. I think I'm gonna pick a real estate strategy that is gonna take the least amount of effort. And so this became the second criteria because as I started looking at strategies, I'm like, man, some of these things look like they're gonna be really tough. Like I started thinking about, hey, here's this 16 unit building. I don't even know how I'd buy that or finance it, but if I do, it's dilapidated and needs to be renovated. I thought that just looks like a really big project. And for me being a beginner, I just thought to myself, you know what? I'm not lazy, but I also don't want to do something too hard because there's risk in something that's so difficult that what happens if I can't do it? What happens if I can't finish it? I was afraid that if it was too hard that I might have some unknown snag that comes up and really ruins the entire deal and hurts me. So I just decided up front, not only should it take the least amount of my time, but it should be easy. It should take the least amount of effort. Now we get to talk about literally one of my favorite words. It's a 4-letter word, risk, R-I-S-K. I love risk, but calculated risks, smart risks. And you know what I hate? I hate bad risks. Can you imagine like selecting a strategy that's so risky that if it doesn't work, you're gonna lose all your money or you're literally gonna lose the shirt off your back? That would be terrifying. And yet reward is in relation to risk. If there's no risk, then maybe I'm not gonna make any money. Like that's like tax liens and tax deeds. Like, oh yeah, you bought this, the tax deed or the taxes that are owed on this property and you wait a number of years and either you're gonna wind up with the property or someone's gonna finally pay their taxes and you'll have earned a little bit of interest on that. I'm like, man, that reward is so low, I really don't think it's going to be worth it. And so risk became another really important thing to me. And I decided that in addition to having the least time and the least effort, I wanted something that had a lower dose of risk, meaning I wanted to make sure that if I put in the effort and I put in the time and I did a deal, I need this thing to pan out. So let's not pick something that's so risky that I'm gonna lose my profit. At the exact same time, I was already starting to learn in my young life that money follows value. The more value you offer, the more money you get. So I decided that my fourth criteria had to be service, meaning I had to pick a strategy that really benefited people. I had to pick a strategy that would actually be useful. I had to pick a strategy that people would say, yeah, I want some of that. And there were some different strategies out there that were kind of what you might call ambulance chasing. Right? This taking advantage of people that are in a really tough spot. And you could be a great investor that maybe doesn't have your heart set on taking advantage of people. But what I really thought to myself was, I really want to find a way to provide a real estate deal, a strategy to someone that's really going to say thank you. Like, that is so meaningful. You really did something very, very, very meaningful for me. Before I share the other two criteria, it was at this point in my journey where I started thinking, wow, I'm not so sure that I really like rentals because what is the real value proposition there? And then someone introduced an idea to me. They said, have you ever heard of a rent to own? And these were a couple of my buddies that had started a couple years before me. They had picked up several properties and they said, oh yeah, you put these rent to own signs out in the yard and what you do is you attract a family that says, wow, we're not really just looking to rent a place. We're looking a place that we can buy, but we're in a position where we can't really work through a bank. So we want to do a rent to own. They said it's such a small niche, Kris, so very few people know it all about it. And I thought, wow, that sounds like you'd be creating a really cool value for someone. They said, you better believe it. They said, I just put a family in a home and they were just literally falling over themselves backwards because we weren't just renting the house to them. They were being provided a path for how they could actually earn or buy the home in time. And I thought, wow, that sounds really cool. I really like the value proposition. By the way, if you want to learn more about lease options or rent to owns, I wrote a book on it. It's called The Straight Path to Real Estate Wealth. And the book is a free gift to you as long as I have copies available. If you click the link below, cover the shipping and handling, I'll have my team send you a copy of the book and I'll show you more about that strategy. It's made me millions of dollars and I've helped tons of people. The fifth criteria that I knew had to be a part of selecting the best strategy, it had to do with the market. You see, sometimes the market is up, meaning the real estate goes up in value, and who doesn't like that, right? I mean, listen, you buy a property and it goes up $50,000, $100,000 in value, and everyone feels like a winner.
'Cause all I do is win.
But what goes up can go down. and I was very cognizant of the fact that if all I did was make money when the market went up, what would happen if I owned a bunch of homes and the market went down? Dude, I could get crushed. I could get smashed. And so I said, you know what? Whatever strategy I pick, it needs to work in up and down markets. It needs to work when the real estate market goes up. It needs to work when the market goes down. And you know what that did? It eliminated a lot of the strategies out there because there's a lot of ways of making money in real estate that's kind of contingent on a growing, expanding, increasing market, but it will not always be that way. So I wanted that safety net that ultimately said, whether the market's up or down, we are winning no matter what.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what.
Come on, Kris, you've mentioned 5 criteria and you haven't even yet talked about money. It's okay, we're there right now. It's the 6th criteria, it's profit. Yes, it has to have the least time and the least effort and the least risk. It's got to provide a valuable service. It's got to work in up and down markets. But you know what? The thing certainly has to make, relatively speaking, really good money too. And so profit is very important, but you got to understand it's not everything. Because there are strategies out there where you can earn a ton of profit but have crazy amounts of risk. There are other strategies where you got very little risk, but the profits are they're negligent. They're hardly available. And so profit is super important. I set a standard. My real estate has to be able to give me an ROI. If I put money in, how much money is going to come back every year in the form of cash flow and growth or tax benefits? And at that time, I made a decision. My real estate has to earn me 25% a year on anything I put out. Why 25%? Think about it this way. A 25% ROI is only 4 times bigger than the average stock market return. But over 20 years, it's 27 times more money, which is why they say 90% of all millionaires did it where? They did it in the game of real estate. And wealthy people today, do you know where they house their money, even if they didn't make it there? They put it in the game of real estate. Okay, Kris, I've waited long enough. Tell me, what is the best strategy in real estate? Well, watch this. The best strategy has got to have the least time, the least effort, the least risk. It's got to create a powerful service. It's got to work in up and down markets, and it's got to be the most profitable. And when you take all of that into account, it forms the best strategy. And I'm going to tell you right now what I discovered. I discovered, number one, if you buy single family homes, we're talking American dream real estate. I'm talking about the kind of homes that the average person can afford, but not just any single family home. It had to be below the median. The median, think about it a little bit like the average in the area. And right now that average should be around $300,000 or below. Why below the median? Because I discovered that you're going to be a lot safer. If you buy $1 million home and the market crashes, guess what happens? It might go down half in value. A $300,000 home might drop to a $200,000 home, but a $200,000 home can't really drop below maybe a $180,000 home. And a $180,000 home might drop to $170,000. In other words, the further below the median you are, the less that home can actually go down because there's a bottom. So I buy entry-level single-family homes below the median. My average purchase price right around $200,000. Keeps me incredibly insulated. And then I found that you've got to do either a rental or a lease option. Now, we talked about it a little bit. A rental, if I go into literally the very best markets, there are 324 markets that make up the United States. If I go into the top 5 markets, if I do rentals there, I can average this minimum 25% ROI. And remember, that's 27 times more money than the stock market. Literally, one home 5 years later can become several homes, 5 years later can become dozens, and all of a sudden, guess what? You've made millions of dollars by multiplying real estate. A lease option, on the other hand, is where you say, nah, I'm going to be more hands-on. I'm going to do this lease option methodology that Kris gives me for free in his book, and I'm going to do a rent-to-own in my backyard where I live. And so if you do this rent-to-own model, it does take a little bit more of your time, but you can also get it to land a 25% ROI. Bottom line is if you take a single family home, you buy it below the median, you do a rental or lease option, and then finally, the 4th criteria is that I like to sell these homes every 5 or so years. And I'm going to show you exactly why. Kris, why would I want to do that? Well, if I can start by buying one home, guess what's happened after 5 years? I can sell it and I can take the profits plus the original down payment and put it into 2. 5 years later, I could trade those 2 homes for 4 homes. And then later, 8 homes, and then later 16 homes. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if one home has great cash flow and tax benefits and can grow in value, 16 homes can do that all the better and all the faster. That's why a 25% ROI pays a lot more money. What you've got to ask yourself is, should I be doing the best rentals in the top markets, or should I focus on lease options in my backyard? And that comes down to a very important question. Do you want to be hands-on or do you want to be hands-off? I learned a long time ago that there's 2 types of investors. There are those that say, you know what, I love this real estate thing. I want to be hands-on. I want to learn how to do it. I want those 10,000 Malcolm Gladwell hours. And if that's you, you should definitely click the link below. You should get a copy of this book. You should read it. And it is a step-by-step formula of exactly how you leverage this singular best strategy and build wealth for yourself. That's a gift from me to you today, and that link is below. But if you're also saying, no, Kris, I want to be really hands off. I got a career that I love. I have other passions that I'm pursuing. Great. Did you know that you can partner with me in the game of real estate, and that I have a team of 200 experts in the top 5 markets, and I can help you build a portfolio in those best markets and you don't have to lift a finger? Well, there's also a link below. It's titled Partner with Kris. And if you partner with me, you can learn more about what it would look like for me to just build it for you. Because at the end of the day, I think that your real success, number 1, comes down to the best strategy, but the number 2, how you execute. If you want to be hands-on, get the book and do a lease option model. If you want to be hands-off, then click the link below and talk about partnering with me. And now you have at least 2 options for how to execute the best strategy in all of real estate. Everything I taught you today and that's in that book is what I used to build my first portfolio of 25 properties. 25 properties that got me to a 6-figure residual income, 25 properties that allowed me to quit my job, 25 properties that set me free. But then I went on to buy hundreds of properties, and then eventually over 5,000 single-family homes that I picked up in building portfolios for myself and other people. And I decided that I should take my CEO who came along later and actually take him on a journey to go check out some of the original homes that kicked this whole party off. Picked him up in a limo and actually showed him my portfolio. And if you'd like to go on that journey with me and him and have me show you the first homes that I bought and exactly how this whole system works, click this video and I'll show you. Dude, what's up, man? Hop in.
Dude, are these up for grabs?
Yeah, 100%, man. Fill up.
You live on another planet, I swear.
Well, dude, listen, you have gotten in the game of real estate the
Yes.
last couple of years.
Yes.
You went from owning nothing to now your own house. You've